Hello. I'm Tom Gardella,
I'm Harold Hubner.
and we're working on a treatment for Jansen's disease. We've been working on the disease for a long time. Harold discovered the disease at the genetic level, the mutation, 20 years ago, and we've been working on drugs that might potentially be useful for treating the disease. And we've been studying some of these, what we call candidate drugs, because they're still experimental. We've been studying them in mouse models of the disease. And we have data that we're about ready to submit for publication to suggest that some of these drugs might have an effect on the mutant receptor that causes Jansen's disease. And so what we'd like to do is try to make these drugs better and finally, ultimately test them in a patient clinical trial. But that's a long way to go. We have a lot of work to do. We're still studying the drugs in experimental settings of cells and culture and in mice, and trying to analyze all the data that we're getting to find out how good they are and whether they are actually going to hold any promise. So we have a long way to go. It's just the two of us and Eileen here and a few scientists that do the work. We're not a big drug company, and so the work, we do it as hard as we work as hard as we can. But there's a lot to do. And so things go slower than we always want them to go.
Yeah, and Tom is obviously one of the world's experts in the PTH receptor biology, and he designed new peptide analogs that were tested in vitro, and they certainly work very well in vitro in cell lines. But so far we haven't found anything that is an improvement over the peptide that was used 2 years ago.
Although we do have some new ones that Eileen will be testing. We've designed a sort of next generation drug. If it works, we'll study that one further. We've eliminated a few that aren't as good as we'd like. It's all chemistry. We design these molecules to have certain properties that we think will make them better, and then we test them and we eliminate the ones that don't work. And we have some new ideas, and we're going to keep testing and hopefully solve the problem.
Right.
So we're looking at a timeline, or maybe a year for all this.
Well, I mean, the next step will be to submit this paper for publication. We'll submit this paper also to the FDA's for their review to get an understanding of what they accept in terms of toxicology studies that are described in this paper, and then get their feedback as to what additional toxicology is needed. And then we have to get these toxicology studies done through whatever mechanism, and then eventually make enough of this so-called GMP-produced peptide to go into the first human before going into, an adult human, before going into a young patient with this disorder who would obviously benefit the most from that.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Thank you for all the work you're doing.